Okay, we are continuing our training for Pricebook concepts and some of the related reports for this topic. So we're going to go into reviewing promotions and some of the comment reports related to when customers are scanning, and then also shelf tags. And there's a couple of other components here that now that I look at the agenda, I'm probably going to move these guys up here just because might as well talk about promotions fully. Actually, they are up there already. So we'll go ahead and switch over to the store system. So in the promotions menu under Pricebook, first to start off with kind of what are common promotions. When you walk into a convenience store and you're looking around, it's very common they're trying to get you to buy more things. So they do that a lot of different ways, sometimes with, oh, you just want one drink? Well, what if you bought two drinks? What are you going to do when you buy two drinks? You're going to drink them both, right? Maybe faster than you would have if you only bought one. So from their standpoint, their profit is to the point they're almost doubling their profit if you buy two of them. Maybe their profit is 50% on one and 40% if you buy two of them. So now they just, went to, a higher amount of total profit for that point. So that's why they do the promotions. They try and get different combinations of products being sold together to entice them to don't just come in and buy randomly one thing, come in and buy two of the same thing or buy a combination of different items.
Right. So just add a little bit to that. So their profit might be less, but they put more money in the cash register at that moment.
Correct.
If I bought two pops or two whatever, I gave them more money. So they're willing to give up a little bit of profit to get more dollars.
Right. And see, they're all perishable products, right? So they have a limited shelf life. So it's not like you go and buy a case of toilet paper and say, oh yeah, that's going to last me for 6 months, and I'm not, because I bought two cases, now I got a year's worth. That doesn't influence how often you buy more toilet paper, right? Buying double means that you're going to wait double for it. But if you go into a convenience store and you buy one pop a day every day, and then they put a promotion, and now you go into the store and you buy two pops a day, the average consumer is going to drink all of what they bought, as opposed to saving it and now just not going the next day. Some people have that willpower, but everything about a convenience store is based on sins and a lack of willpower and impulse buying. It's everything that grocery stores tried to do to make last minute money for you at the end of the checkout line, but all rolled up into one big store. So the moment you walk into a convenience store, it's like you're in one big checkout line of get your attention with new things, fancy signs, promos, and everything inside that store is pretty much high margin except for cigarettes. Some states have a state minimum, so you can't jack the pricing on cigarettes, and lottery is usually not lottery is a set margin from the state also. So that might be 5 or 6% margin. Cigarettes might be 10% margin, but everything else in that place is going to be 40 to 60% profit margin. So that's why, buy two candy bars, you eat two candy bars. Next time you're in there, you're probably going to buy another candy bar or two. So that's the whole concept of what we're trying to do with promotions, is to identify what the promotions are and make it so they ring up on the register automatically. So the first part of the promotion is the promotion item list here. And so this is the list of all the UPCs you want to be eligible for that promotion. So currently you would create this list for store. You would come up with your own numbering scheme for item lists. This does have to be unique from the register standpoint. Otherwise, you'll run into conflicts. So even though they might auto number this themselves, when it gets sent out to the register, they got to be careful. So that's why it's required, and we'll make it unique. And then this total unit price here is meant to be a sum of the value of the items within it. But really, they're just, actually, I think Nelson's already done a change for me to change this to an average price.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the intent here is that all of these items that become on a promotion list, if you scan one item or scan any combination of it. So in the case of Pepsi 20 ounce, what they're saying is you can get a deal where if you buy one of them, you pay full price, but if you get two of them, you get a deal price. Well, Pepsi lets you get all of their different flavors, so you don't have to buy two of the exact same UPC. So with that, we have a list, promotion list of 20 ounce, and then all of the records down below are meant for the which UPCs also belong to this item list that are eligible. This family and class fields, this is meant for updating the list of UPCs below to add in a group of items, because a lot of times these lists, if you don't know all the UPCs, you might know, well, let me pick Pepsi and let me pick 20 ounce, right? And then, so when you've got those things on there, you may have noticed this list changed a little and added a couple more things to the bottom as I added on the list. So this is, it's just meant as a quick way to populate the list of UPCs here, but then you can just keep on adding more items to the bottom of it as you go. So they would have this list finalized. And then the second part of this is, okay, now you've got a list of items that are eligible for the promotion. What is the details of the promotion? So typically you're going to have a promotional screen. And this promotional screen is going to give us the ability to start linking that list together. So in this example, if you remember on the other screen, the Pepsi 20 ounces were $1.59 each. So you can see here they're giving up 9 cents of margin on each one. But then to your point, if you look at this from a profitability standpoint, you might have made 9 cents less each time. But in reality, whatever that cost difference is, and the stuff's about a 50% cost margin. So if it was $1.59, let's just say it was 80 cents profit, right? Or 80 cents cost. So they would have made 79 cents profit if somebody had bought one. But then you take off that 9 cents, right? We're at 70, but then you're going to add another 70 to it. So instead they make $1.40. So, $1.40 to the bottom line for sales that day is, effectively, not quite doubling it, but, it's such a healthy margin that anytime you sell incremental on it, it's worth it. So, okay. So going into the fields here, again, we need to track what store this is for promotional aspects. There's two types of promotion types. The first one is mix and match, and the second one's combo. So let's go through mix and match first, and we'll talk about a combo example too. So mix and match is you can buy any combination, or I don't want to use the word combination. You can use any item on this list. You can mix and match different items on this list to get the deal. And so it's cool on the register. You scan the first item on the list, and it's going to say, oh, your price is $1.59. You scan the next item on the list at the register. It says, oh, well, I can tell you got two of them. So I'm going to charge you $1.50 for both, and now you get the 2 for $3 promotional price. So the register's smart enough to keep track of this information as the sale is being rang up, and we're just basically maintaining the setup information so to send to the register's database. So promotion ID also has to be maintained uniquely. It's very common for somebody to just make all of the IDs the same. You know, this list is for Pepsi 20 ounce. This promotion's for Pepsi 20 ounce. You know, just tie it all together and give it the same code. There's maybe some limitations on how big this code can be, but so typically it's not a big deal. You just start it at 1 and keep going from there. The category, this is, it says it's required, but it's really not it's not required on mix and matches the same way that it would be on other deals. But basically this category says, you know, more or less what type of products are you doing a promotion for? And then description, this is what will show up on the receipt tape. If there's any specific promotion reasons why it occurred. And then, you know, in the list, you can choose which items, you know, basically this, here's the one list. When it's a combination, you'll actually see on that example, we'll have multiple lists. So, but mix and matches typically have just one list. Going back down at the bottom, we've seen customers try to increase sales and say, hey, if you buy between 7 and 9 a.m., we'll give you a better deal. And that better deal is, you know, get a donut and a coffee deal, but only get this special price between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. So this is the newer functionality that we've added into the system for giving day of the week and time of the day availability to lock in that promotion pricing. So again, it's that, hey, I happen to be here. I didn't really expect to buy it, but it's such a good deal. I'm going to buy it. I was trying to put a timer on that impulse buy because it may not, you know, would stop the price. It would go back to regular price after 9 o'clock in that example. And then next columns over here, we do have promotion units and price. This is just the grand total of the deal. It's going to be the sum of all of the different item lists. And fee type and product code, that's just going to be used for combinations. So we'll set up one of those here. Beginning period. Go ahead.
I was going to say, my question is, so if someone buys 3, though, our system will let them get the $1.50, though, right?
That's going to depend on these questions down here.
Okay.
Yep. So almost there. So beginning period, this is how long this promotion goes on. We send these dates to the register, so it'll automatically turn off the promotion completely. In this case, it was through the 2017. Purchase limit, this is going to give a maximum amount. This is kind of related to your question there, Dean, is what is the maximum amount of that you're going to give this promotion on? So let's just say it's 5. And we'll say it's 4. Right. So if you bought more than 4, then you're going to get full price. And then you talked about a 3. There's also a purchase at least minimum. So the purchase at least minimum would be checked, and it would prevent you from getting the deal unless you bought 2 of them. And then purchase exact multiples would also make it so if you bought 3, you don't get the deal. If you buy 4, you get the deal twice. If you buy 1, you don't get the deal. So these combinations of purchase limit, purchase minimum, purchase multiples, those are going to be common for that. And there's some scenarios where purchase at least a minimum of 2 and purchase exact multiples make it do the same thing. And then this promotion type or pricing type. So there's a couple of ways to send this off to the register. One is a total package price, and that's the example we're talking about here. When you buy enough things on this mix and match, when you buy 2 items on this list, you get the total package price of $3. We can also, so instead of charging $1.50 for each one, we could also do an amount off the package price, which in that case, you wouldn't make this $1.50, you would make it 9 cents to get the pricing. So it's saying whatever the price is, just take a certain amount off. And then there's a percentage off. So again, this price column, depending on the pricing type, is either going to be the fixed price to pay for it, because it's going to be a discount amount off of whatever the base price is in the register, or a percentage discount instead of a per unit discount. This last value here was just, it's a program bug that needs fixed. It was meant to, whenever you add a new record, it's supposed to default to total package price. But instead, it got read and interpreted as, hey, let's add the default value on existing records as a drop-down selection option. So that needs to come off. I got a screenshot of that one. Well, Nelson should be able to take care of that one pretty simply. So the other items in here, you notice they're disabled. These happen to do with when you're doing a combination. So I'm going to close this one, and let's see if I've got any. Yeah, I've got a combination here. Okay. Okay. So here, the primary difference between a combo and a mix and match is a combo is multiple item lists, whereas a mix and match is typically just one. So in that example of the combo, think about like you go to McDonald's and there's combo number 1. You can get, comes with maybe comes with this specific sandwich, but then you've got a choice of, do you want fries, or do you want apples, or something else for a substitute on the side? And then for drink, you've got, you could get Pepsi, you could get Coke, you could get an orange juice. So that concept of, you're getting the combination of 3 different groups, and from each one of those items in the group, you have different options within the list that makes it eligible for the combo. So in this example here, we're saying, great, you can get, for this price, we're going to get you, for $3.75, we're going to get you ready for the movies. You're going to be able to get a Pepsi 20 ounce, a bag of Frito large, and a bag of Sather's candy. So, and each one of these has got a different price considered on them, and you can determine, we're going to charge the Pepsi at $1.50, lower than its $1.59 price. But this only works if you buy one item on each of these 3 eligible lists. So you have to buy 1 Pepsi and 1 Frito and 1 Sather's, or you don't get the full combo price. You just get the individual pricing. And typically these are one of, but it could be 1 or 2. in those combinations. So when it's a combination, you also have other fields that were disabled that are, have been sent to the register for the combos. And I need to explore if these are still critical. This used to be back on the old Verifone Ruby register days, which they've since updated to like 3 generations of registers since then. So and they introduced enact standards on top of that. So some of these may not even be used anymore, and if that's the case, then we're going to remove them from the screen. But they're like the fee type product code. These are like UPC related setups that mattered. And then, whether or not they wanted to itemize the receipt, all of the 3 items they bought, or if they just wanted to show it on the receipt as just one lump sale. And then again, these are all Pricebook settings. And then the last one here is whether, when a promotion has been completed, you can tell it you want to delete it from the register. So that will.
The completion would be after the 531 in this case, right?
No, it's actually before that, because when you delete from the register, you're saying, well, I accidentally set this up wrong. I don't want it on the register anymore. If you delete it here, it deletes it from our database. If you check this box, it says, okay, also send to the register. This needs to be deleted.
Oh, so you have to tell it both times to delete.
Well, the one here, it would expire, right? So that could just let it run its normal course and expire at the end. But the delete is the timing of maybe something got set up incorrectly and you just want to wipe it off the register.
Got it.
Sometimes that happens when, and this was much more common back in the days, the original Ruby promotions. I think it could handle 10 or 20 promotions. And now they're closer to unlimited, or like 10,000 promotions. So that's a much bigger difference on what's being, the need to delete from the registers to free up space is not as prevalent. So those 2 different promotion types, we've got grids listing on those options here. And then there's a couple of other things related to promotions. We've got the option to copy promotions. If you remember, the settings that I was showing a moment ago were all per store. So you can copy from store 101 to store 1001, right? Or you can actually copy out and say, let's just copy this to all stores. As long as you don't pick the same from store. Right? And then you can pick a range. Do I want all my combos to be copied or just the ones that matter? So I'm going to back off on, let's do it to one store here and we'll see what it looks like. And then replace duplicate records. That would just be, you typically want to do that because if you make a change, in one store and then you want to replace that same change so it gets replicated to all the other stores. Otherwise, if this is unchecked, it would only add to stores where it didn't exist at, and it would not actually replace anything. So, like if I change the description on it. So we can see here it added 9 new item lists, 5 mix and match, and 1 combo. And if I did it again, so those all say replace now. So if I told it not to replace, this should be all zeros. Unless it just gets confused because it can't find anything. Just peculiar because it never re-enabled the options on the copy there, it looks like. But in that case, there was nothing to do because it couldn't replace anything. And then also related to promotions is purging promotions. So this gives us the ability to purge any expired promotions. You can imagine we start doing this for years worth of data, and we've got promotions that ended in 2017. We may want to actually, or maybe we close down a store, right? We want to purge out some of the data in the system. This is optional. It's just a cleanup capability. And then we can choose which areas we're trying to purge data from. If we wanted to purge mix and match and combos, but leave the item list alone, preserve those because those might be needed in the future, I could do that.
So when you run this utility, though, this won't touch the register, though, that we saw earlier.
Correct. This is the same thing as the deletion option in the system.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see here, I just chose to purge everything through forever, and then the preview gave me the results of what's going to be purged, and I can finalize the purging. So typically you would not purge all records forever. You would pick some point in time where I had a couple of my combos, my mix and match promotions are from this year. Now in this case, the item lists don't actually have an expiration date on them. So the item list would persist. All right. So the one other thing related to promotions is when you do the update to the register. We talked about this one previously, but you'll see here there's flags to send the promotion item list and also send the promotional sales, which would be the mix and match and combos. And then there's also a checkbox here for clearing the promotion files. So what we found is when we're migrating customers to our solution, the first time they send promotions, they may want to clear the register promotions out of the register, because just in all those promotion ID setups, their old software might have been set up differently. So what I mean by that is, maybe their item list 1 and promotion list 1 is not how we set it up in i21, so it's completely different. Well, we don't want to send a new item list that gets linked to a different promotion and just causes a whole jumble of data. So this clear register promotion is basically, it forces the register to clear the database table, and then after that it will add in all of our new records. So that's kind of the catch-all. It's like, how could you mark it for delete if you don't know how it was set up? This is just saying delete everything off the register for promotions, and then take what the new stuff I'm sending is the right way to do it. Questions so far on the promotion piece?
Do we have reporting around that? So, like, would a customer be interested in? So, like you were saying, and maybe you'll get to that later at the last piece, but there's cases where customer might want to understand, oh, my margins aren't what I forecasted. Well, yeah, because you ran all this stuff on sale, right? So, like you said, you'd have less margin, but basically more money. Do we have such an analysis?
Technically, yes, but not necessarily down to the promotional level.
Okay.
So, I mean, part of that's what I want to talk about on the, like, go into one of the checkouts and look at the item movement.
Okay. I get to see customers being interested in that. You know what I'm saying?
I know where you're going, and the C-store industry is unique that they tend to run on category-wide averages and not individual item average actuals. and it just has to go from they're managing thousands of items that all have different target margins. And so if their margins at the entire category level is in check, right? Let's say 40% is their standard margin, they
Sure.
might take 30 to 50 on any individual item there.
Sure, yeah.
But
But I guess I wasn't thinking, I was thinking because, if you make your promotions too good, you may not be making enough money. I think in most cases that would be true, right? I mean, I'm assuming they're not running promotions that, they wouldn't run like 90% off or something stupid like that, right? But
yeah, probably not. So
because that's too much of a giveaway. I'd rather just sell less, have the higher dollars, right? But I just didn't know if they go back and analyze, are our promotions needed? Would we, in other words, would you have sold them anyway? There's all sorts of that could be a whole AI module.
yeah, that level of margin analysis, trend analysis, yeah, that's part of what Lassus is trying to do with their business intelligence. But you're asking if there was ways to tell
Yeah.
how that impacts. So in the discount column, the promotions all show as sales discounts. So
Okay.
we can actually tell by product, what was the baseline average price of what the stuff was sold at for the gross sales. This $1.79 was the actual price. But then we had $1.18 of discounts, so the net sales was $5.98. All right, so from this, we can tell what kind of discount analysis is going on, how often it's being taken, and to determine, is that, hey, we're considering the margins based on the net sales,
Right.
because we're not tracking these discounts as expenses. So they consider those to be like an average margin concept that, in theory, let's say and this is actually how like the Pepsi ones pitch this. Like, yeah, you should run this promotion. So based on our analysis, 40% of the customers will take it, will take the margin.
But they'll buy two, you get more dollars.
Yeah. So, well, what they do is they just figure out an average, right? They're like, well, 40% of your margins will be at the, the lower price, the lower margin. But then we'll balance that with the other 60% of your single sales, right? So your margin.
Right, and at some level, you should be able to analyze that and say, yeah, that was a good promotion, right? Because we sold more, but we didn't give up so much margin that, it was retarded. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and so it's interesting because Lassus is doing something else on promotions, where if you ever see like up at their cash register, they've got little bins of promotional items. And what they've done is instead of waiting for their manufacturers to give them a deal, they're searching for items and trying to buy them at such a high, like a Sam's Club type volume of them, and saying, I don't. So they're making up their own promotions. They're going out and saying, the cost of this is normally 80 cents, but I'm going to buy 36 stores worth times whatever amount and get my cost down as much as possible. And then I'm going to sell these. And so they have a break even point on those that they track the per unit sales that, last year for these particular items,
We sold XYZ, so we could buy XYZ, knowing that we can turn it.
Right. Well, and they've got some multiplier of that goes higher.
Right. Yeah.
So their goal is to make more gross margin on a higher throughput, and then use the volumes of purchasing more to get a better cost break. So that's what they're trying to do. So that's effectively that's what Pepsi is doing too. Trying to turn stock. So, but they have a weighted average of the deals taken versus not taken.
Right.
So.
But I can see where you want to manage that. But so like if you were, and that's kind of off topic here, but if you don't get the purchase price down to where you need to be and you're still running that promotion, you're not going to have the margins you expect.
Exactly. Yeah, and usually when deals like this are going on from the manufacturer, they're getting a special deal price as well on
Right.
cost. So, hey,
Right.
run this promotion for the next 6 weeks. We'll give you a promotion lower cost option too, so that, we're trying to get your margins. Your margins can be better. We can move the product
Right.
faster. So,
Right.
so okay.
Yeah.
So
So I think overall we don't really have the tools like a dashboard or something in place to come back and analyze that, because I mean that's a whole science.
yeah, there is definitely more to it. I mean, there's some ways to achieve it based on like exception tracking and target margins.
Right.
We just don't have all that stuff built in. So related to that concept, right? I showed you item movements from the checkout. So related to that, I can go in and I can run an item movement report for a certain time frame. And this will give me consolidated sales totals for this period of time. So I can run it by category or department here. So let me just get that pop, since we love pop, or Coke if you're in a different region, or soda in another. So, all right, so from here, you can see what this looks at, and this isn't like a full-blown tremendous amount of data here, but what it's doing is it's looking at, the current pricing in the system, current cost of inventory in the system, what's the average price over this time frame. So you're talking about an analysis of, again, how often is that deal taken, right? And an average cost of 13 cents. That sounds superb. Yes, please. May I have more?
Right. Or is that deal too good for the end customer? Wait a minute, maybe I need to, you know, maybe I shouldn't lower it by 19 cents. I only want to lower it by 9 cents, right? It's still a deal for the customer, but you know what I mean? And that's a whole science just in of itself.
Yeah, I'm questioning some of these numbers here for cost now. Either this average cost is way off,
Right.
because this total cost is not there.
That's
So,
probably just from test data or whatever.
it could be just a bug. I don't know how many people are really looking at this report. I know Macintosh is probably not.
Got it.
So,
But that's my point. I can see a whole sign, like if you just make your promotions too good, another way to look at that is, okay, I'm turning a lot and I'm making decent margins, but can I adjust my promotion, still meet the goals, and maybe get a little extra margin? You know what I'm saying?
right.
Don't 25% discount, maybe only do a 20% discount.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's where, that's the
right.
real data magic, right? Is, did
Yeah.
that have an impact, right? Run it for this date range at this margin. How many did I sell? Run it for this date range at a different margin. How much did that extra 5 cents matter? Now, in the case of Pepsi, they're requesting that everybody do it the same way. So they, when Pepsi offers a 2 for $3 promotion, you only get the promotional cost as if you sell it at the promotional price.
In that case, that would be true, but like when you run those combos, that's your combo, right? So if you're giving a combo on like coffee and donuts, hey, if you buy these two, get a 20% discount, right? Are you still making good money by offering that, right? Now, normally, I don't know if normally when food items that are prepared food items, normally the margins are pretty high. So I would think donut margin by itself would be pretty high.
Right. Yeah, because they can have a bunch of waste there and still have made enough money on the product to
Yep.
cover the waste. Yep.
Right, but you might, someone that's coming in to get a cup of coffee, kind of like what you said, or that donut looks good, so I'll get my coffee, then swing by and get me a donut. Yeah, you gave up a little promotion, but with that promotion, maybe that was just enough to entice someone to go ahead and make that purchase. But
Yeah.
that's kind of my point. Do we have an analysis? Yeah, that's a good deal. We should keep running it, or no, knock it off because it's not enough meat on there, right?
Yeah. So there's not anything that's going to tell you exactly what you're looking at or what you're asking for, but
Mhm.
things like this report are going to give you those indications,
Right.
right? Because you could say, you might have to run this report a couple of times, right? And say, run this. What was my sales volume for the 4 weeks prior to this?
Right.
And then what was my sales margin for the 4 weeks during, right? My
Right.
total gross margin should have been higher. Otherwise, there was
Right.
no point in running the promotion.
Right.
My gross margin percentage might have been lower, but my sales should have been higher. My margin,
Right.
and it's worth your time. So,
Right.
okay. So this report for item movement just gives you the extra ability to filter in by families and class. So if we just wanted to see 20 ounce, I don't think I have enough of any of those, but so you can just see where you can put in different parameters to run and filter and see different items.
So, are these made off? Is this grid made? And I don't want to monopolize the meeting, but is this made off of those two views that we have for Tyler?
No,
Okay.
this is the item movement data. This is not based on the transaction logging data.
Okay.
The transaction logging is an add-on to the system that adds transactional level detail, and this is just based on the day's totals for cumulative sales.
So this is doing the calculations for us.
Yeah, and just the register gives us grand totals for the day as well as per transaction details. So this is already summarized into one record per day.
Right.
And then in addition to that, we also have a purchase versus sales variance. So this is meant to be a simplified version. So some people don't always do item level inventory because it's very intense, but they want to look at, but they're putting in purchases by item level and recording sales at the item level. They're just doing their inventory at the category retail level. So what this purchase versus sales report does for us is it gives us the ability to run a report for a period of time and basically do an analysis on for this year. Now there's most of these vendors come weekly, so they're stocking people up based on what's been sold within a given week. So an analysis like this is telling us that, oh, by the way, we sold 40 of it in this time frame and we only purchased 24. Yeah, this might be a reasonable tolerance. But we sold 151. Well, this is in our favor, right? But what people are looking for is when purchases outpace sales, that becomes an indication. And I just don't have good data in this demo, that's for sure. Yeah, two items purchased. But what they're looking for, this is a way to spot theft. So if you see that you buy 5 cartons of this brand of Camels, but there's always a variance. If you buy 5 every week, but you're not selling all 5 every week, maybe you're selling 3 a week, then what's happening to those other 2 cartons? So this gives you that, just a trend analysis over different periods of times, what's within thresholds. And then these other variance quantity and variance percentage, these are meant to filter down the results to only show the exception records. If you said, well, I don't want to see anything outside of 10 on the variance, well, I take that back. Apparently this is programmed to equal 10 instead of be greater than 10. You'll never guess what I'm going to have you do next, Nelson.
Okay.
All right, so all right, so we'll get that one cleaned up too. But that's how it's intended to work. Is so you said, oh well, it's the purchase versus sales. You might purchase it on Tuesday, and you might sell more of it over the weekend. So depending on how you put in your dates here, it may not coincide perfectly. And typically, there's always some level of inventory. So that's why there's a certain threshold of variance that you would look at and say, within a week, if I'm off by less than 15, that might be reasonable, right? You might run this multiple times for different categories, but basically just trying to track down the exception concept. So, and then this is also showing percentage.
So an acceptable variance makes sense to me on something like pop, especially like out of you're not tracking like fountain pop. You're talking about like cans of pop here, right?
Yes.
And I'm also thinking like cigarettes. I would think your tolerance would be 0, right?
Well, but it's the timing of things, right? Think about inventory.
Okay.
It's not real-time purchases. You get a delivery once a week, and you want to make sure you don't run out of cigarettes by the next
Sure.
week. So you're always going to have some buffer. Sometimes that's going to be an extra carton. Sometimes that's going to be extra 2 cartons. If sales are down because of COVID, right? Those particular buffers. But the expectation is that over a span of time or span, of cycles, you're going to get down to an average level where you've got a finite amount of space to store stuff. So it's not like a warehouse where you can build up a lot of inventory. So
Right.
that's
So
the expectation.
in a way, this is measuring inventory turn.
Yes, it is the frequency of which the inventory is coming in and the frequency of
Yeah.
inventory going out
Okay.
consistent.
But that's not tied to a physical, which a physical or cycle count might lead to uncover theft. Like if someone's stealing a carton of Camels once a month, right?
Right.
Inventory might catch that, where this maybe not. Depends.
Yeah, this one it's just got enough variables in there that, like, if you really thought you had theft, you should be doing item level inventory counts to
Right.
catch it.
Exactly.
Right. Whereas
Right.
this is going to give you, instead of, spending 15 hours once a month doing item level inventory, let's run this for a quarter and see where things are trending at.
Right. So
And
this might like you said, this might indicate, oh, maybe I got cartons of cigarettes walking out the back door, and then
exactly.
I might do my investing. This may not tell you for sure, because like you said, maybe your purchases and sales are just off, but you would at least know to investigate that versus just let it keep walking out the door.
Right. Yeah. If that variance is negative where you keep purchasing 5 cases, but your trend is selling 3 every week, eventually you should have so many cases of that in your inventory that it's crazy. But if you
Or
don't,
it's walking out the back
yeah,
door.
exactly. If you don't, then it's
I
theft and
like this. Yeah, I can see it. Because like you said, you don't want to spend a bunch of time for maybe you got an employee who steals a pack of cigarettes once a month. You know, you'll never catch that.
Yeah.
But if you just got some sort of massive problem, maybe employees are selling stuff, right, and not ringing it up through the register, that's a bigger deal.
Right. Okay. The last piece I'm going to cover here is generate shelf tags, and Nelson's got some tweaks on this as well, but I'm going to show the base concept. So basically, shelf tags is they can use this for printing off labels. And I think they need to pick a location here too. Pick the right location. One of these had UPC. Well, it's definitely complaining loud enough for me. All right, so that one has UPC there. This must be the multiple unit of measures. So, all right.
So is that why the price is weird? Oh no, it's not.
No, I think the price is weird because it's showing the cost instead of the price. But
Oh,
let's confirm that. Yeah, that's what it's doing. It's using cost instead. Yeah. Pro tip: never print price shelf tags with your cost on it. And pro tip number 2: never sell a product at the same price as your cost. Those two things, that'll just help you out doing better in business. So,
right.
yeah. So this price, and I'm not sure if we ended up catching that or not in our last review with Nelson, but it's been a while ago when we looked at this one. Okay. But so basically, they would be selecting the items that they want to produce shelf tags for. And then when they generate this document, it's going to produce this. And this is kind of misleading here. It's meant for a continuous feed, one label at a time roll printer for the barcode tags. So this would be like one UPC per page. But then you can see it's going to have the barcode, the price, the description, and this barcode label, or the number that goes with the barcode in case the barcode is smudged or gets scratched off and doesn't scan. Somebody who's using this for reorder point scanning could scan this barcode off the shelf too. But I've seen customers who will use these shelf tags either to print for putting labels on made foods, so they'll be able to make some breakfast sandwiches, put it out underneath a warming device, and then people are coming in and say, oh, breakfast sandwich, grab it up, take it up to the register, and the label on it has the product, the price, and a barcode, so they can just scan it out of and not have to do a PLU lookup on it. And somehow accidentally, is this it? Nope, that's not it. Yeah, here it is. You'll be excited. I was just talking to Nelson about this yesterday. He was waiting for me on some research. I found the city of Chicago's requirements. All of this 24 pages of legalese on how to make how to do it. So I'll summarize that back into the document so we can finalize those changes on the shelf tags. Okay, that is the last piece. Related to shelf tags, it is, like I mentioned, a continuous feed printer. We had an old Zebra label printer that we recommended to customers. I'll have to check if we still have that or if we need a newer model to test out the development for the printing to make sure the margins and the resulting document is still correct, because we might have to make some adjustments there. So it fits on the label cleanly, the right size label. So that takes us down through shelf tags, the movements, purchase reports, right? So we covered those items. So next time we'll finish up the mass changes, concepts. For sure, these, possibly this one, I've never had a successful EDI import from grocery vendor. So this might be a topic I break off into a separate session until we've actually had a chance to see if it works. Or we can at least talk about the concept. So